Time's gone 12 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock, and it's a very good evening to you, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of Let's Talk Justice, Live Your Rights show, proudly brought to you courtesy of Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, alongside the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, and not forgetting the National Prosecuting Authority. And this evening we've brought alongside one of our sister departments, and that's the Department of Social Development, and we're glad to have these entities with us, these departments with us this evening. It's going to be a jam-packed show, and we're going to be dealing with an issue that I'm very close to heart, that my heart is actually very close to, and I would like to invite your participation as we go along. This evening we're talking about victim support services, and it's our 20th episode, and we'd like to welcome you to it. My name is Karabalanski Stolona Sabapil Matebele Karatahore ko Luena Mutelechi ko amogela mo lenanegong la rena la maitshubwa le go no lona o le tishetswa ke ba Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, ga mmogo le kgoro ya toka le tšwelopele ya molaotheo, not forgetting the National Prosecuting Authority. All right, I'm going to try to cut it short. I'll tell you why, because there's so many things that I would like us to talk about. So let me just give you the number right away that you're going to be using throughout the show to be in touch with us. It's a toll-free number if you're going to be using a telecom line. It's 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. Toll-free if you're using a landline. If you're using a cell phone, call us in initially. We'll take your details down and call you back. If you're going to be on Twitter, it's the Department of Justice. I beg your pardon, on Twitter, it's DOJCD_ZA. DOJCD_ZA. And if you're on Facebook, is the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, and you can comment and ask questions on those platforms there. Welcoming in the studio this evening, my three guests are coming from various departments. As I've mentioned earlier on, Kimeka Mokelo Lukubu Wilderson, somebody who's not a stranger to us. She's been here a couple of times, and she's came back this evening. Would like to welcome her. She's the Director of Victim Support and Specialized Services at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Melukubu Wilson, let me welcome you once again and say thank you so much for having taken time to come through.
Thank you, Karaba.
All right.
Listeners. There
we go. And we've got Nomatema Malvin, Gender-Based Violence Command Center Manager, coming from the Department of Social Development. We'd like to welcome her as well. Ma'am Malvin, welcome to our studios.
Thank you, Karabo, and the listeners.
All right, last but not least, Kim Mekaren Tusen, National Coordinator for the NPA's Gebona Lesedi. Gebona Lesedi means I see the light, and that's a court preparation program they have at the National Prosecuting Authority. Metusen, thank you so much for your time and welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much for having us.
So, I came in guns blazing this evening, so there's no chance of us not helping you. All right, look. It's that time of the year, all right, where government really heightens or intensifies even the fight against abuse of women and children. And in fact, President Jacob Zuma kicked off and officially launched the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children in Mahikeng in the Northwest Province. And this time of the year, this is when we really would like to call upon all victims of abuse, being women and children mostly, to really come forth and just hold government, just have government help them in terms of the plight they see. But I'll tell you what, somebody that actually explains it well is the president himself, and he made a speech yesterday in Mahikeng. Let's hear what he had to say.
To call upon women to report the cases of abuse and violence. Do not protect the perpetrator. Family members and neighbors must also work with the police to catch the culprits. We also appeal to our courts to hand down harsh sentences to those found guilty.
All right, there we go. That's the president of the country, President Jacob Zuma, there kicking off and officially launching the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children, Gomahikeng, in the Northwest Province. So, this is what we're going to be talking about this evening. If you're a victim of abuse, or if you know of somebody who's a victim of abuse, now I want to tell you this. This is the platform where you can get help today. And throughout the 16 days that's coming, government is ready to receive a call from you and to hear your cry in terms of how they can help you. But let's start it here. This is the medium that we've provided for you. Government has provided this medium for you to be able to handle all those issues and to seek help. So do likewise. Those numbers again, if you want to call in, you can remain anonymous. You can even speak in a language of your choice. You're more than welcome to do that. 0800 142 446. 0800 142 446. It's a toll-free number if you're going to be calling from a landline. Otherwise, if you're going to be using social media and would like to comment or ask questions on Facebook, we're the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Otherwise, on Twitter, we are DOJCD_ZA, DOJCD_ZA. Victim Support Services. 3 words, powerful words. Maybe let me start with you, Mekamo, and let's talk about this Victim Support Services. What exactly are we talking about when we're talking about Victim Support Services, the VSS?
When we talk about victim support services, we're talking about services that empower victims to be able to go through the criminal justice system in claiming their rights so that we can protect those rights. Remember, all of us have individual rights, and victims have been put really at the side of the criminal justice system. So we put in services so that they are back into the center, because when a state has a case against anyone who committed a violation against a victim, it's the victim who has to be important and supported through the system. Mm-hmm. So we are really putting their rights back into the center by empowering them through special services that address specific needs of the various victims, because we've got different types of victims. Currently, we would say we talk to victims who are vulnerable. Mm-hmm. We're talking to women, we're talking to children, we're talking to disabled people. Because if you come to court and you cannot see, we should be able to provide you with the braille services to be able to claim your rights. So if you are, for instance, a blind woman who is abused, how are we going to be able to get you to write that domestic violence affidavit? Mm-hmm. We need to give you the support service for you to be able to write those affidavits, and we've got court preparations officers who are there to assist victims in court, including victims who cannot see, or mentally disabled persons, or children who cannot give evidence in this way that adults give evidence in court. Mm-hmm. The court rules don't change suddenly. When you talk about justice, we don't say, hey, this justice system must talk child language. We continue to talk in the language that we use in the mainstream. So we need to get intermediaries, for instance, to come in and translate information back and forth, so that the evidence of the child, who is really, when they come to court, vulnerable, can be heard in court and can be taken in its context.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're talking to issues of having the interpreters. They are support services, but if you you cannot speak or you cannot hear, we need to have somebody who is able or capable, an interpreter who can do sign language so that you can understand what is being said in court. So those are the specialized services that we are forced to give, so that put the victim back into the center of the justice system.
Absolutely awesome. And earlier on, you've just mentioned something that caught my attention, which is the CPP, the Court Preparation Program, which has been ran and spearheaded by the National Prosecuting Authority. And this is where Methusen comes in. And I would like to maybe just find out a little bit about the CPP, the Court Preparation Program. When we're talking about that, what exactly is it that we're talking about, Methusen?
What normally happens is if somebody's had a crime against them, they've been hurt, they've been violated, they've been traumatized, then they have to go to the police. And afterwards, if there is enough evidence, they go to court. And they get fearful of walking into that scary court environment and telling their story, especially intimate stories, like if it's a rape or an incest, very sensitive details about what happened to them in front of all these strangers. And they get secondary traumatized just by that court environment and the strangers. So what we do as the MPA, we provide special support services for them. They're called court preparation officers. And they come in and they take their hand and they address all their fears, their needs, and their concerns. And they empower them to be able to go through the court system, the whole trial, from beginning to the end, right from bail, right up to sentencing. And they empower them with special tools and techniques, because when you're traumatized, all that information, if they're overwhelmed by information, it goes in one ear and it goes out the other.
Yeah.
So they need visual tools. They need stress reduction techniques. They need to be empowered that when they go into court, they know who the magistrate is, who the prosecutor is, and that the prosecutor's their lawyer, the people's lawyer. They think often that the prosecutor is the executioner based on research. And they're not. The prosecutor's their friend. Who the defense lawyer is, who the intermediary is that Kamo has spoken about, who the different role players are, and what is the role of the presiding officer, the magistrate, or the judge? How do they interact? How do they speak? What is court etiquette? How do they dress in court? How do they... that they have rights in court, that they have a right to ask, I don't understand that question. Can you repeat it? Because very often during cross-examination, the defense lawyer will get them confused about their statement. And they have a right to appeal to the prosecutor or the presiding officer, the magistrate or the judge, and say, please, sir, please, ma'am, can they reword that? I don't understand it. And especially a child has to be able to understand the question that's been put to them. The other thing that the court preparation officers assist them with is if they have special needs, if they are a disabled witness, a disabled victim, and they're in a wheelchair, they might have a colostomy bag, they might have other paraphernalia that need special care and special attention. Maybe they stutter, maybe they're an epileptic, maybe they've got high blood pressure, or maybe they're a diabetic. Maybe they're on a program, a specialized program, and they need special assistance. These special needs, special fears and concerns that these witnesses have must be brought to the attention of the prosecutor and the presiding officer.
Wow, absolutely awesome what you guys are doing there by the National Prosecuting Authority. 25 after 6, if you've just joined us, welcome to it. This is a live broadcast coming from our studios here in Hatfield, Montwane. Rata go amogela le wena moreti mo khasong ya rena ya boseng jwa gompieno. Ga ile gore o batla go buisana le rona, o ka dirisa nomoro e ya mogala, yona ke ya Mpiwa fela, o tle o sa lefe sepe ga ile gore o tlebe o dirisa mogala wa gago wa Telkom 0800 142 446 0800 142 446 ungakhuluma ngathi ngesizulu ngeSwati ngesivenda each and every language here in South Africa. You're more than welcome ukuthi ungakhuluma nathi ngayo mafuna ukusishayela wena mlaleli inombolo yethu yona ungeke ukhokhe lutho ngempela. It's 0800 142 446 0800 142 446. Now here's something that's big that really has put my heart at ease, and it's been designed to make access to victims, access to justice for victims much easier, and it's been run by the Department of Social Development. Khuseleka One-Stop Centers. My goodness me. What a powerful one. We're going to find out a little bit about that, the Khuseleka One-Stop Centers. And to tell us more about that, Meno Matemba Melvin, as I said earlier on, Gender-Based Violence Command Center Manager from the Department of Social Development. Once again, thank you so much for your time. Tell us about that One-Stop Center, the Khuseleka One-Stop Center, what it does and how it can help people.
Thank you, Karabo. I think what I would have to do first and foremost is to explain to the community out there that, right now the department has made available a system wherein a person can report whatever is happening to her at that point in time, meaning that we have a call center which is running 24/7, 365 days a year, wherein people can call in and can report whatever kind of abuse or violence that they are experiencing. And as the name says, it's gender-based violence. We are not really concentrating mainly on women and children per se, because we are aware that there are men who also go through abuse in one way or the other. So the Khuseleka centers, they are just a way of us having immediate referral or immediate reference when someone needs to be removed from wherever that she's experiencing abuse or domestic violence, to be removed and to be placed in a center where there is a multidisciplinary team, and where he wouldn't be in a position to go through secondary abuse, with one person having to get a story and having to react, and then thereafter referring, and the following day or the following hour somebody else comes to inquire and to investigate. So the Khuseleka centers, that is exactly what their role is, to have all the services sent around the center, so that the person doesn't have to go from one door to another to get assisted.
Yeah, and there's another one. In fact, when I think about it, if I look back to March 2014 last year, Minister Batabile Dlamini, Minister of Social Development, actually launched this command center called the Gender-Based Violence Command Center. We'll call it the GBVCC. And since then, people have been having access to this, and numbers actually tell a story. Do you want to tell us a little bit in terms of how many callers it's taken and so forth?
Yeah, the center started operating in November 2013, and it was officially launched by the Minister Batabile Dlamini in March 2014. The numbers have grown,
wow,
vigorously and aggressively. They have increased in such a way that since then to date, when I say to date, I mean the 25th of November.
Right.
We have as gender-based attended to, received a number of calls, 42,440.
Oh my goodness.
And the USSDs handled, USSDs is SMSs, are 39,113. And why the number has grown so fast is that of the SMSs is that Vodacom also assisted in advertising our number
Right.
to their the people using Vodacom. So that is why the number has grown that much. The total number of cases that were opened and received attention and to a certain point referred to our field social workers out there is 10,900.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, one of the numbers can tell the story. I mean, I often hear people saying, "Oh, government ends loot," with these numbers, you cannot say that. I mean, almost 12 months down the line, one cannot say that. I mean, the numbers are telling.
It's true. It's very interesting to understand that victim support. I was just telling someone recently that victim support has taken root in South Africa, in the sense that since 1996, when we did the National Crime Prevention Strategy, we were given a mandate to empower victims, and we have in all the government departments programs that are meant to support victims. For instance, when you say you go from reporting, from the time you get into the SAPS, if you're a victim of gender-based violence or violence against women, like domestic violence, sexual offenses, trafficking in persons, or you are victimized because you are a woman from a foreign country, you can go to the police station and be interviewed in a victim-friendly room.
Right.
Across the whole of South Africa, we've got 900 plus victim-friendly rooms. And we've got about 1,200 police stations. So that's a huge number. Then we've got what we call family violence, child protection, and sexual offences investigators who are investigators, particularly trained to deal with sexual violence, to deal with trafficking in persons, and to deal with children who are abused. So you don't get just any investigator, you get a specially trained investigator. Again, within the SAPS, if a child is involved, is a victim of abuse, be it rape or domestic violence, you have what we call the forensic social workers who will go together with the FCS detective to the scene of crime or to the victim to really get the information, to get the statement. You won't get the ordinary FCF's detective to do the interview. It will be the social worker who listens to the detectives and changes to the language of the child, so that you get information immediately, and the officer doesn't have to go back from time to time to say, what did you mean when you say punasi? You know, things like that. And then when you get into prosecution, we've got court preparation officers, we've got Tutuzela care centers in one of the people know about the Tutuzela care centers, but the emerging thing around the criminal justice system is that in supporting the victim, we are using the one-stop service approach, all of us, in the sense that we would like, for as much as possible, for all the people who come into contact with the victim at each stage to be at least within the same vicinity. So Tutuzela care centers that are facilities offered by the NPA again, together with Department of Health, do provide one-stop service centers, as Nomatemba has already explained. Ourselves in the court system, we are establishing sexual offences courts, which are specialized courts that make sure that we give priority to sexual offences cases. And here we will be working together with court preparation officers, we'll be working together with designated social workers from the Department of Social Development, because when children come to court, even adults when they come to court, sometimes even if you take them through court preparations, when they come out, they are so traumatized that they may faint or they may get some kind of a trauma attack, and there must be a social worker on site to assist.
And then what we also do is we refer them to NGOs for specialised counselling and services. So we do it in a multidisciplinary approach. Government needs the non-government organisations to do everything. So the important thing is when they come to court, they also have what's called a victim impact statement, which is new in the country, and they are able to write down everything that's happened to them in terms of the impact of the crime psychologically, their nightmares, how much expense they've had to pay out for medical expenses, what is their physical trauma, their psychological trauma, and how has it changed their whole life. And that is used at sentencing, which might increase the sentence that's handed down. Instead of a minimum sentence, it could be a life sentence because of this victim impact statement. And those victims, those witnesses are able to write it in their own language and just write. They can do it a story, a poem, and they can give every bit of pain across that they've experienced to the magistrate and let that perpetrator know what harm they've caused them.
All right, it's gone 23 minutes just before 7 o'clock, and I've just got a couple of callers that I have been holding for a bit of a while. I don't want to lose them at all. So 3 organizations in one studio coming to help you. Please take this opportunity to utilize their services. The National Prosecuting Authority, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, as well as the Department of Social Development. All of them are here. Let's go to our first caller, calling all the way from Newcastle. Sizwe ukuthi siyabonga ukukhala ngokuthini. Siyabonga, sabona nawe.
Ngiyabingelela, ngiyamkela baba, kunjani?
Ngiyaphila bhuti wami, ngizocela uke uvala umsakazo wakho, ngiyawuzwa lapho ngikhona, uzangidisturba kancane, ngicela uvale nje sike sikhulume kahle mina nawe.
Ya, nami ngishawa Mthethwa, ngila eNewcastle, ngibamba ku 103.7. Nomunye kwabasakazi ke bala eNewcastle. So nami nje ngithanda ukugcizelela ke la njengoba uqalile umkhankaso ke lo wokulwa nokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane kanye nengane 16 days of activism, ukuthi ngempela ke abantu abahlukunyezwayo ngempela ke abangathuli nabo nangabenza ngempela bakhona abahlukunyezwayo, ngoba nje ukuthula ngempela kuyinkinga. So nangabe uyabona ukuthi uyahlukunyezwa umuntu wesifazane, speak out, lokho kuzosiza wena, ngoba nje ngempela ukuthula kanti uyahlukunyezwa lokho ngeke kuze kusize. So nami nje ngigcizelela ukuthi ngempela ke they must say no to violence.
Siyabonga. There we go. I mean, the name says it all. And thank you so much for your call. We really, really appreciate it. Siyabonga has actually listened to the president's call, and he just called in to say, look, I want to reiterate what the president has said. If you're a victim of violence, sexually or domestically, please do not sit there. You have to speak up. There are services that are available to help you. As I've mentioned, the 3 organizations under one roof this evening, making sure that you get all the help that you can receive. All the way from Newcastle, that was Siyabonga. Let's go to Anonymous, calling all the way from Bosmont, La Echozi. Anonymous, good evening to you. All right, are we moving on to the next caller? All right, we're going to move on to the next caller. I've lost Anonymous. I really apologize for that. Ubongani from Soweto. Bongani. Dibongs. Bongani all the way from Soweto. Good evening. Okay, so Ifage Bondin. We'll try to call these people back. It looks like we've lost them. 20 minutes just before 7 o'clock. 0800 142 446. That's 0800. Let me tone down my gears a little bit. I can feel I'm going fast here now. All right, 0800 142 446. 0800 142 446. As I say it, I'm actually opening my own Facebook page here to check if I do have any Facebook comments or questions coming through. On Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, and if you're going to be calling us or be in touch with us from Twitter, you can use this hashtag DOJCD_ZA. That's a DOJCD_ZA. I want to zoom in a little bit, or maybe before I do that, I've just been told that Anonymous is back. Maybe let me do that. Let me take Anonymous first, and then we'll go to the questions just a bit later. Anonymous, good evening to you. Welcome.
Good evening. I want to find out, look, the Department of Social Workers is there, right? What do we do? Here's a boy, he's running around here in Boston, right? He goes to school when he wants to. His mother is on drugs, she stays somewhere else. She doesn't worry about the child. When we phone the police, they say we must go to social service. When we go there, there's nobody who's willing to assist us with this child because he's going door to door asking for food. At night he doesn't know where he sleeps sometimes.
Okay, and you want to find out exactly how this person or this young one...
How can we help this boy? Do you understand?
All right, 100%.
Because the mother doesn't even have a proper place to stay herself, and she's most of the time on drugs, and she's got another child, so it's a very concerned issue, you know.
So the mother doesn't have a home, and obviously the child won't have a home as well.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Anonymous. We're going to definitely jump into that one and see how we can help you. Thank you so much for your call. 0800 142 446 Mohlwa Power, regular listener all the way from Senegal. I need to send this guy a present because he's very loyal, and I really, really appreciate that. Mohlwa Tupa. Thabela o utlwa ho wena o seng wa ba ka jeno potso ya hao e reng
ke ne di tsaka fela ha mo le bomme ka mo ke ne ke na le tsitsinyenyana ya hore ditaba tsena tse bomme ba buang ka tsena ke ditaba tse bohlokwa haholo fela mara di tsela batho ba le keshi le mosola rona ba mona mapolasi mona ha ke tsele molemo wa nne hobane ha o ka tlola wa sheba ntho tse ngata tse bomme tse kukuleng ba bule ka tsona di etsahala dibakeng tsena tsa rona ka nneng ha o tlola o sheba ha o bitsa bo maponesa mohlomong le go ha le batho o bona le ponesa polasing ya lona jale kore la sokola holo gona mapolasing mona ntate haholo jwang ha o tloa go batho bana ba bomme ba dulang ba sekefetsiwa ke dipeto fela o kile wa bona motlhompedi
ke utlwa hendata re tla bona hore re ya re jwang putswa hao
le ketelong bomme ba ke ba tie dinomoro tsa bona mono
re tla etsa jwala jwalo
thank you ntate
a utlwa he 17 before 7 Noctula from Dlamini.
Okay,
kunjani sisi
akukho kahle yazi baba
masibone ke ngakunceda kanjani bosisi bakhona lapha e-studio bafuna ukukunceda sisamkhuluma nathi
sikela ngesonto manje ngeza lapho ku-Colin Hunt ngizoreporta indaba yabantwana that is my grandchildren base place of safety base siyakhula children's home Orange Farm extension 1 so ngangathola i-permission ukuthi ngibalande njalo weekend beze ekhaya bazovakasha mangifika khona lapha e-place of safety ngithola ukuthi one of the child bayi-two, it's a boy and a girl, ufake i-bandage mangibuza ukuthi kwenze yini i-security ithi kimi angikwazi ukuthi ngingakathola this week ngithi kuzabe kunjani ukuthi ngingakwazi ukuthi ngibathola because I've been getting permission yokuthi ngibathola and then ke ngi-disable nami and then ngendlela engi-frustrated ngakhona nami ngithi ngiyabafuna abantwana ukuthi ngibe nabo ngoba futhi ngifuna ukwazi nangale injury le njengoba bhandishile umntwana enyaweni ngithi why ningamtshelanga ngale injury yalo umntwana ke ngimbuza ukuthi kwenze njani athi ngilimele ngishaywe abafana abayi-12 khona la e-place of safety i-security lena ingithathe bathi abasuke yini and then mina ngifrustrated-ke khona lapho-ke ngithi manje ngifuna abantwana mina ngoba ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi kwenzakaleni ukufika khona lapho-ke manje-ke sengimile-ke lapho nabantu bayandlula ngestradi nani abomama laba abasebenza khona lapha sebelibile bayeza-ke bazongibheka-ke ukusuka-ke lapho-ke ngitshele mina because bengafuni it was for the second time ngi-expose le center le ukuthi injani thathe ukusuka lapho-ke umntwana-ke maye sethethe ngimbona umntwana khona lapho ngithi security sengivalela ngikwazi ukungena-ke umntwana ngiyababona-ke sekayazi umntwana uyascreama uthi letha ukuphula waza sigijime asibaleke bayazi umntwana uyafika kini uthi kini i-security iye yamhandcuff intambo and then wavula ngamazinyo mayeqeda wathatha i-suitcase wabhoza iwindow waphuma-ke ukuthi azakwazi ukuthi abaleke babuye-ke beze kini abantwana bayasho ukuthi uyawasho khona manje-ke baba nje into engisa ubuhlungu ukhole mhansi wangipha nenamba yokuthi mina ngizothola khona umnetho.
Okay, sis Okay, sis Nokuthula, I tell you, can we? All right, we're gonna try to.
Okay, Mama. Hello. Hello, Ma. Mam Nokuthula. Oh, Mam Nokuthula. Hello, Mam Nokuthula. Mam Nokuthula. Uyangizwa sisi? Ngicela wehlisa umoya ma. Ngiya understand ukuthi uzwe ubhlungu kakhulu. Ngicela wehlise umoya ngoba ngizothanda ukuthi ufone ngizokupha inamba ozoyifonela or mawunganayo i-airtime ngikuphe i-SMS ukuthi uyenze kanjani. Ngoba yes ngoba njengoba sikhuluma manje ingqondo yami yagijima ngiyacabanga ukuthi okokuqala njena anginasiqiniseko sokuthi le place of safety i-registered na i-Department of Social Development nokuthi abantwana baze bayobekwa lapho babekwa ngama-social worker na ngoba if babekwa ama-social worker akufanelanga ukuthi ngabe uwe oziyelayo e-place of safety uyozi lungiselela ukuthi abantwana bavakashe.
Okay, let's do this just for the interest of time and just to make Gutabe comfortable Lapa corner. We have her numbers with our producer's name.
Okay.
Can I ask you immediately after the show? We will call her and then let's talk to her. I just don't want to expose her to just to elongate this. But I really appreciate her calling in. This is exactly what we're calling for, in fact, this evening, for people to call in, and sometimes it's difficult, as we can hear. Very traumatic. But call in. Don't despair. In fact, Unogutula has actually opened doors for all of us to do that. So let's call in.
What is very interesting is that abuse, irrespective of where it happens, whether it's a government institution, whether it's an NGO institution, whether it's in the home, we have to curtail it.
Yes.
And there is no way the Department of Social Development will allow an institution, be it theirs or in private hands, to allow that kind of abuse to happen. Firstly. Secondly, a victim is not just the person who experiences abuse. In terms of the Victims Charter and the Victim Empowerment Policy, Mam Nokuthula is a victim because that victimization that happens to her grandchildren is now coming to her because she's getting psychological abuse from this institution. And what we are fighting against with these programs is to ensure that our institutions do not secondarily victimize people. And I would like to explain what secondary in victimization is when an institution directly or indirectly or intentionally or unintentionally does not provide the required response for the victim. When it exposes the victim to further abuse, if you go and say, I want to see my children, because you've got the right to see your grandchildren, and people forbid you through the rules that are there or whatever reason that they have, then it means we are victimizing you, we are further traumatizing you because you cannot have access to your grandchildren, number one. Number two, we as an institution put institutional mechanisms that lock you out and further cause you the pain that you're feeling.
Which is not good.
So I believe that we will, together with Department of Social Development, make sure that there is action taken. We'll do a fact-finding. From fact-finding, we will definitely make sure that we take steps to correct the situation there. I'd like to talk just a little bit to the issue of availability of social workers in courts. I talked about it a little bit, but for people should not be afraid to come to court, because we've got court preparation officers, we've got the designated social workers who will be able to, either if you're too traumatized, even when you go into the courtroom, you can go with that designated social workers who'll see to your emotional needs. Because in court, we need a very strong witness, because remember, justice systems works on the basis of the fact that we as the state have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that an offense has been committed. So if our victim is weak in the sense that they forget what they had said one moment ago to the next moment because of the trauma that they have experienced, then we are weakened as the state, because the outcome of the case is likely to be against our wish. So that's the reason why we have this victim support program. The sexual offences court I'd like to talk to the kind of services we've got. For instance, we have two-way CCTV systems. The two-way CCTV systems work for the child. If there is a child witness who would be traumatized by being in the same room as the accused, then we put them in a testifying room. And in that testifying room, they can give evidence without being seen by the accused necessarily, or without having to be in the same space with the accused. And she will be, or he will be, able to give evidence in court. So you've got real-time communication with the court. The nice thing is that the intermediary is there to make sure that they convey the messages. For children of certain ages, children who can understand court language and can talk, can give evidence from testifying rooms without intermediaries some of the time. Sometimes a 17-year-old is a child and they can speak for themselves, but they are protected in that sense. And the testifying rooms can also be used also for adult victims of sexual violence, in the sense that when the adult victim is so traumatized or is afraid for one reason or another to be in the same courtroom or to go through public space, then we give them the opportunity to provide their evidence via the CCTV system, which really reduces then this is how we actually mediate the secondary victimization.
All right. 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. That's the number to dial. Otherwise, you can hook us up on Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. On Twitter, it's DOJCD_ZA.
Yes, Karabo, there's one other thing that I would like to highlight when it comes to Gender-Based Violence Command Center. The lady who just called now would have received quite an immediate service, immediate intervention, because they would have provided her with the counseling, trauma counseling that she needed at that point in time. And the system that we operate on is such that it is able to geolocate where exactly the person is calling from, and by doing so we are able then to immediately can be in a position to assign, whether to SAPS, whether to health, whether to the Department of Social Services, field social workers, to can go and do a proper investigation. So this is why I say at least she would need to get those numbers, and she would. This is what I was also trying to do with her, to contain
Right.
whatever trauma that she was experiencing at that point in time.
Awesome. All right. Just for the interest of time, Ms. Chusen, I'm going to come back to you. I've just got 2 callers. Let me take those quickly, and then we're going to come back to you very quickly. Let's go to Mzwandile in KZN. Mzwandile, quickly, what is your question or comment? Mzwandile?
Yebo.
Ninjani baba?
Siyaphila njani mfowethu?
Ngiyaphila, umbuzo wakho uthini?
Umbuzo wami nje mfishane yazi ngifuna ukubuza la ukuthi kahle kahle la kwa justice ngasizakala kanjani mina ngiphila nokukhubazeka ngisebenza kwa Department of Education okushuthi la nje ngithole ama threats la ngisemsebenzini eshutha ngizobulawa then ngaya e-police station ngebhadi ke ngangayivula i-case kodwa nga-reporta sabhala nenamba leyo engisabisa yonke into ngithe ngisadibhekile ngikanjalo athi amaphoyisa ngiye ngasekhaya ngase ngizama ukukrosa nomunye umfowethu esithe masithi siyakrosa lo mfowethu lona wasethatha waseyaresign umsebenzini so eseresignile mina kade ngisengale ngingakangeni kwi-process yokuthi ngibe le department engikuyona ukuthi naye ngibuyele emuva ngoba sekwi-mutual cross ma ethi ngibuyele emuva then uprincipal wangale ade ngikhona ukuthi akasangidingi and nangala angingenile futhi ngi-end up manje ngingasenamsebenzi ngoba bathi bobabili bafuna ukuvula ama-post abo futhi mina ngi-end up manje njengelungelo lami selihlukumezekile angisakwazi ngo-end up ukubuza ukuthi mhlawumbe kwa-justice ayikho mhlawumbe engasizala ngayo ngoba athi amaphoyisa just because i-case angivula ngeke kwazi ukungisiza ngalutho ukuthi indaba ye-department.
Ngiyabonga, Baba Mzwandile from KZN. Let's move over and we're going to Mtutuzi. Mtutuzi, you're the last caller for this evening. Good evening to you.
Njani baba Karabo?
Siyaphila kunjani baba?
Ngiyabingelela Karabo nebahambeli bethu lapho e-studio. Karabo siyajabula kakhulu i-program lesifela yona more special i-department. Ngiyalithanda kakhulu leli hlelo nokulalela njalo ngema-Thursday la eMpumalanga kanyamazane. Ngifuna ukusho ukuthi njengoba kulonto ye-social activism ulihlelo lihle kakhulu leli njengoba ke bantu labafana bantu labesifazane bayakhona ukuthi bavete imbono yabo njengathi sinokuthula ukuthi kube into lenhle le usinomhla sikhuluma ngento le njengoba naye uvelile uyahlukubethe bantwana futhi bayahlukubetheka so ngicabanga labanye abanyenti batofunda lokuningi kulo hlelo lokufuna ukusho nje ukuthi siyabonga kakhulu Karabo sicabanga department yauchubeka njalo sethethu lethona nje siyabonga kakhulu Karabo.
Thank you so much. That was Mtutuzi there, and we'd like to thank you for your input. We really, really appreciate it. We've got about. Let me just see quickly. We've got about 7 minutes to go, and I would like to utilize the maybe 5 last minutes to just bring a challenge to all men that are listening out there. I know we do have victims that are men, but just for now, just to also reinforce what the president has said, I would like to challenge at least about 2 to 3 men to call in and just to make a pledge on behalf of all the men in South Africa to say, we are the men in South Africa and we stand by and we say we are against the abuse of women and children. Just to end off the show at a high note, if I can just get 2 men calling into place to say, look, we are men of South Africa and we say stop the violence against women and children, that will be the wonderful way of ending the show. You wanted to say something, Ms. Susan?
Yes. What's very important for people to know, because our people from the rural areas don't have access to counselling and they don't know what to expect. And sometimes they travel 3 hours to just get to court after a rape. But the most important thing is we want Ke Bona Lesedi. We want to bring light into a very dark experience. All of us, we have joined forces, every single department, we work together, we want to bring light. When they are able to tell their story, tell somebody of importance what happens to them, what has happened to them, it brings a sense of healing. It starts the healing process for them. So I want everybody to be encouraged out there that we are a united force in the different departments to stand there. We've got the witness protection. If you're afraid to report, we've got witness protection services. If you are feeling threatened, we will come to your aid, and we need you to stand up and say, I will not take this anymore. I will not be hurt. I will speak out, and I will have the courage to come forward and tell my story in court, to tell my story to social workers, to come forward and end abuse and put perpetrators behind bars. And it's Kebona Lesedi. I see the light. We're bringing the light into a very dark world.
All right, there we go. 0800 142 446. Ending the show on a high note. 2 men to call in to say, look, we are standing against the abuse of women and children in South Africa. We are men, La Pemza Hansi and Tina City. No violence against our women and our children. 0800 142 446. In fact, let me be the first one to say that. Nakarabulans Mukubela. I'm saying I stand and I pledge that I will be in support with every effort that government is doing to stand against violence against women and children. So there we go. That's my statement. What is yours as a man in South Africa? Let me hear. I challenge you. Challenge Amachita. Call me in 0800 142 446. Can you say the same? I wonder. 0800 142 446. 0800 142 446. You can even say it on Twitter. You can say it on Facebook. You're more than welcome to do that. We've got about 4 minutes to do that. If I can get more than 2 callers, I'm sure that will be a bonus. I would like to hear from you. So there we go. Let's see if we can sort Ishwela Mzwandile. Mzwandile lives with a disability, but one thing that I'm picking up here is he is a victim of abuse himself, emotionally and otherwise, because he's mentioning that he's receiving threats from. Can you believe it, hey?
Yes, I think Karen has said it to say that there's that witness protection program. You have rights. The justice system is there to protect you. So one of the services that we provide, because that's abuse, it's community abuse. And we don't know whether it's gender-based or whatever, but it's possibly a form of gender-based violence. We would say that we would, through the NPA, provide witness protection program. And we also have within the Department of Justice, when you cannot afford, it's actually, this is not based on affordability. We provide what we call witness fees. If you are a witness and you need to come to court to support your case and you cannot afford to go to and from, we have witness fees. We will reimburse you for transport that you have. We'll also give you money for food to be at the court. Obviously, the witness protection program run by the NPA has much more to offer than just witness fees. So just take heart to the issues that we're talking about. Those services are there. Do come and say, I do want this kind of support when you go there. Don't just go there as if you don't know the rights that you have and the services that you have.
And they can approach the public prosecutor, the senior public prosecutor at their local court, and go to that prosecutor and ask for advice. Who do I go to? I need protection. I'm being intimidated. What police station do I go to? What social worker do I go to? But the senior public prosecutor at their local court can assist them and advise them. And they've got the Tutuzela care centres that they can go to for support as well.
Ms. Nomatemba Malvin, your last parting words?
Yes, Karabo. I would like to also support my colleagues here to say, let the people not keep quiet about what is happening to them, and they must try to get assistance in all ways possible. And for the Department of Social Development, we also have about 88 white dog care centers where around the country, and we are still trying to build more of this center of hopes, so that at least we can have a place to contain and to try and assist a person that is in dire need at that point in time, and so that he or she receives all possible services as catered for by the legislation and policies around it.
Good stuff. Okay. 7:05 on the dot. Can you believe it? Let me thank my guests for coming through this evening. Kimeka Mokhelo Lukubu, Wilderson, the Director for Victim Support and Specialized Services, Go Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Thank you for coming through. Meno Matemba Malvin, Gender-Based Violence Command Center Manager, Go Department of Social Development. And not forgetting Ms. Karen Tucson, National Coordinator for the NPA's Gebona Lise, DIC the Light Court Preparation Program. I really thank you, ladies, for having taken time to come through. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karaba.
All right, we've ran out of time. I would have loved to hear from these men. I would have loved to hear from them pledging, really. But I know in your hearts, your thoughts are with our ladies. Your thoughts are with our kids. And you'll do likewise. You'll really protect them. And you will speak up on their behalf if anything arises in terms of abuse, gender-based abuse and sexual abuse. But let me give you the numbers that you can call. I feel it's very important before we say goodbye. There's a toll-free number to call to speak to a social worker for assistance and counseling. This number is 0800 428 428, or it's 0800 GBV. That's another way that you can put it. So that's a toll-free number where you can receive, you can speak to a social worker as well. Social worker for counseling and assistance. 0800 428 428. Otherwise, callers can also request a social worker from the command center to contact them by dialing this toll-free number from any cell phone. It's star 120 star. It's a star 120 star 7867 hash. Can you pin the foot? Star 120 star 7867 hash. That's toll free as well from any cell phone. So there we go. From myself, Karabalanso Stogolwana Sabapedi Lebatebele Karata gore ke a thaba gore le lena le ile la tja karolo mo kgasong ya rena ya bošegong bja legono. Until we meet again next week Thursday, it's ciao for now.